Welcome to Wheelhouse's first ever large workshop. Rebecca, what's up? Uh-oh, now all the pressure's on.
Yeah, I didn't know I'd have to have a camera on for
Well, you
this.
don't have to. You really don't have to. What we want to try today, though, as we're going to talk a little bit about, is we've done webinars before, and we do a decent amount of one-on-one coaching and product training. But we also wanted to experiment with just a larger class format. This is something we did with our team, and we wanted to share it with you all and see if it works. So thank you all for showing up today. We're going to give folks a few minutes. The one PSA before we begin is if you don't see, we think this is all customers, all folks who work with the day, which means all of you should have free dynamic sets right now. If you go to your dynamic sets overview now, so this link that I'm going to drop into the channel here, if you go here and you do not see a dynamic set, we have a breakout room, and you can go hop in with one of our teammates, two of our teammates, and they will make sure to get you with dynamic set up today. And you can find that breakout room link at the bottom of the Zoom window. Do you all see that? Are you able to see that? And then if you click that link, there should be one that says account setup, and our teammates will help get you all off and running today. Welcome all. Oh man, so many good folks. Thank you all for joining in the Big Wheelhouse experiment. We're going to give folks just about 2 more minutes because this is a build session. We have a lot to share today and build with you. And the reason we're saying make sure you have a set is we really want to encourage you to build along with us today, just in case you haven't used the tool yet. We're going to show you some ins and outs that I guarantee less than 1% of people have discovered. We do have support folks on the call. They're in breakout rooms. So if during today's presentation and build together, you just run into something that you can't solve, I move too fast, whatever it may be, I have had 2 cups of coffee, you can always hop into that side room. You'll work with our teammates. They can either help you right there, solve a problem, set up a follow-up discussion, whatever it may be, right? It's part of the experiment today is, can we support folks in a group setting and individually? So if you feel the need to hop in there, please do. It'll probably take a minute to answer a question or two, and you may hop back into the main room. Okay. Um, what do you think, folks? Should we 1 more minute, or should we dive in? It's also an interactive session. I might ask questions of those of you who I know have used this tool. I might ask you for a question during this. So, Jim, any tough questions? Oh, there's a lot of Jim. Sorry. I'll hold that. I'll hold that. So, if you do have a question too, some of you know on Zoom you can raise your hand. You can also dump questions into the chat window. Our team will do our best to help with those questions as well. Excellent. All right, all. I think that's enough of the pre-context. Welcome to the Wheelhouse workshop. Let's first talk about what we're going to achieve today. This is our first large course. We want to make sure you get, yes, more value out of Wheelhouse today. No doubt about it. Part 2 is we would really value your feedback at the end of this. We are interested in, is there a format where we can, on a quarterly basis or more frequently, gather like this and educate you on all the cool new things we're trying to build, what we can be doing better, get feedback, trainings, etc. That's valuable to us. And if someone's not on mute, Megan, can you make sure to monitor folks? We'll try to keep as many folks on mute as possible. Thank you. And then learn more. We've already kind of named how this is going to go. We're going to walk through and we're going to build together. If you have a simple question such as, hey, I don't understand that, great question, great type of question to drop into chat. I might see it, or a teammate, John DeRelay, who's going to be kind of monitoring chat and hopping in with us throughout this, might be able to answer it right there. Again, if you feel like you need a lot more help, you've fallen behind on a little bit of the build, please, again, join a breakout room. It'll be a little calmer environment where you can get your questions answered. If this format doesn't work for you, you can leave at any time. This is an experiment. We just appreciate you being here trying to learn with us. We're going to get, yes, a few framing slides on dynamic sets, just so you can understand a little bit of what we're trying to build toward here. We will blast through those slides in a couple minutes. And then we're going to go right into the tool and we're going to build together. At that time, if you want us to build, it's not going to be a prescriptive demo. I'm going to kind of choose someone who might offer their market up and we'll go build in that market together, right? So nothing's set up beforehand. We're going to build with you just as though we're building a set for the first time together. Okay. Then we're going to talk about assigning listings to a set. On the old Wheelhouse, every listing had a set. In the new Wheelhouse, one set could have 100 of your listings stitched to it. So we're going to show you, make sure you know how to do that and see the benefits when you're able to then bring that data everywhere. So part 3, once we've created a set and assigned listings, we're going to see all the new places you can use this data across your revenue management platform. And if we have time, we would love to get your feedback, what we can be doing better. We'd love to share some next steps, see if you have other ideas, and we'll kind of invite those along the way today as well. So with that, let's dive into the intro and the framing and really the why. I think as you all know, you all manage incredible, unique portfolios, right? And suffice to say, our way of thinking about the world right now is the inventory that you mostly manage is quote unquote in. People want to travel to beautiful destinations that have amenity rich offerings. A challenge that has created is we kind of exist in this much more complex accommodations landscape. You all have known for years that yes, you're competing maybe somewhat against that nearby hotel, and maybe you somewhat want to listen to their strategy, perhaps. You also might have noticed recently that because of the way certain platforms like Airbnb now does search, where you can say, show me beach locations, travelers are now looking across many markets before they book, right? These changes in our ecosystem have, in our minds, kind of pushed towards needing a new type of tools. And I think really, I kind of break this down into like, well, as you're building your pricing strategy or changing your pricing strategy from what Wheelhouse provides, I think a great question is really, what should you be listening to? Should you be listening to part-time hosts or part-time available properties? What about that new property that just popped up? What about that hotel? What about the next town over? There are a lot of questions that we think you all we've heard are important when you're kind of building out your optimal pricing strategy. And really, the goal of dynamic sets, most simply, is to give you more control of what you and eventually of what Wheelhouse listens to in helping you build your best strategy. In the old days, we had a recommended set. It wasn't good enough. It really wasn't. And who's better at telling us who that listing is competing against than you? So we wanted to make a new mapping interface and new data. And really what we've moved towards, hopefully with dynamic sets, as we see today, as we'll hopefully see today, is we wanted to make the map unbounded. So not just limited to identifying competitors near you, but anywhere, potentially. There's a lot of potential value in that. And then we wanted to wildly increase the amount of data we had available to you all. So if you wanted to, sure, filter by bedroom size, that's fine. But as we start to mix hotel inventory and short-term rental inventory and motels and resorts, we wanted you to tell us kind of more easily be able to find that. Maybe it's really important to understand who's a beachfront property or who has a pool. We wanted to make that data much more accessible to you. We see a lot of markets where you have short-term and mid-length stays. Maybe you want to listen only to mid-length or only to short-term, whatever it may be, right? And I think one thing to think about today as we demonstrate more of what our product team has put together here, we can add more data layers and we will add more data layers. And you might have an idea of what you'd like to see, and we would love to hear that. Okay. So consider everything we showed today just the start. We think when you combine mapping with a lot more performance data, yes, benchmarking and pricing strategies are possible, but we also are very interested in how you all can use this for owner comms, owner retention, acquisition, studying merchandising strategies, right? So by that I mean, could you find the best performing property right near the ski resort and see how they're marketing? So we think making hospitality performance, accommodations performance more visual will hopefully be helpful. Today, we're just going to see the top three. Sorry, I'll just delete these for more visibility. We're going to look at these today. And if today's session again works, we're happy to do many more of these and teach on a few other of these platforms. Okay. So without further ado, the workshop agenda, we're going to create a dynamic set together. We're going to then review detailed metrics, including some new updates to your metrics page that hit yesterday. We're going to then take a dynamic set and we're going to show you how to bring it into your dynamic pricing strategy. We call this in context. And lastly, predicated on having enough time, we're going to get to the performance page, formerly called the booking page, but where you see your portfolio page or your portfolio performance. And as some of you may now know, you're able to bring in each of these sets we're creating into that performance page. All right. It's a lot to get through. We got 50 minutes to go. So does anyone want to volunteer their market? Again, we're going to build live. I didn't want to set this up at all. We wanted to build with you. If you can throw it into chat, that would be great. And if not, I do have a market in mind that I love. What do we got? Seattle. Okay. We got Denver. Okay. I saw Denver first. So we'll do both. We're going to do two sets. All right, all. If you could give me a thumbs up if you are on this dynamic sets overview page. If I see a few, I'll know some of us are there. Again, I'm going to put this link into the chat now because this is tied to your account. So you clicking this link will open up your version of this. All right, Emily Connor, are we a yes? Are you able to see it? Max Bachmeyer, we're yes. Larry? All right, so let's dive into Navigator. First, you'll see this pop up. You could type in any location you want. Right now, let's type in Denver. You'll see it will send us to Denver. And just for some context, sometimes I'll click this search area box. We're going to be loading. I'll do that again to reload. Wheelhouse will load up to 5,000 listings at a time. And generally, the way to think about it is we'll be loading about 500 listings. These are all listings. About 500 listings per second. So that's why when you have 5,000 listings loading, up to 10 seconds, it'll take up to 10 seconds to load this. To begin, let's just orient ourselves a little bit. As we noted, each of these dots is a listing. We're going to explore those in a second. But first, if I just simply click and drag, I can drag to area. I can search this area again. And it should identify the new bounding box or the new box where we want to look for listings. I'll just close this a little bit. And you can drag, right or left, doesn't matter. Zoom in or out with your keypad. Again, if you zoomed way out, you could run another search. So in this case, I'll just show another search over a broader area here. It's maybe a little bit overkill, but just showing you kind of the range of items. If this happens where you just don't, there's still a lot loaded here and you don't see new listings loaded, just try search again. At worst, you'll refresh the page here. This is still kind of perfecting how to load data when people change the window a lot is still something we're working on, but this looks a lot better, right? And now we're maxed out of the 5,000 listings we're able to have at any one given time. Now, I'm going to zoom right back into Denver to illustrate another aspect of the map. So right now, we learned you can click and drag, you can zoom in and out with your cursor. If I hold control, or if you hold control, you can also do something kind of fun. You can rotate the map in a circle. It's a little bit mesmerizing. But why would we want to do that? right? Why did Wheelhouse spend time on that? And the reason really comes here, we'll start to learn another element of the map here, which is Wheelhouse does allow you already to add a few new data layers to the map. So I've added hill shading and 3D buildings, and I did so by clicking on this show hide layers here. And in fact, you can see these other layers that you could remove. I could strip out potential listings. I'm not going to do that right now. You can add in postal codes, which will draw lines on the map. And the invite for you all is if there are other data layers you want to see here, please let us know. I'm going to close this out. And right now you might have noticed a subtle hill shading here. So let's zoom in a little bit, okay? And what you notice when you zoom into a lower layer is actually the buildings will start to appear in Wheelhouse. And again, if I drag control, you're actually going to see, and there you see it in a really extreme version, you're going to see elevation. And the reason we think this is very important in certain markets, especially in ski towns, say we were in Steamboat, Colorado, for example, is, well, we want you to know if you're evaluating a property for acquisition, we want you to know where it is on the slope, right? We do think making this map 3D is actually really interesting for understanding how to understand the potential performance of a property, what its strength and weaknesses might be, maybe how to merchandise it. In some ways, what Wheelhouse is really showing you here is we're showing you the view, right? Which we think is kind of a fun thing. Now, if you ever get disoriented, which happens when you're playing with 3D maps, just click this button here. This is going to reset the bearing to north. It'll go back up above the city, and you'll see we're back to the old view we had of Denver. Okay, so that's some basic principles of zooming in and out, moving the map around, searching a new area, etc., as well as adding layers. Okay. Another, if you did want to go 2D to 3D, you can just toggle this really quickly as well. Now, on the left side, we have, this will really come to life as we start to select listings. So this is going to be where we kind of evaluate and build a set. We'll get to that in a minute. On the top here, we're going to have some boundary drawing and some map kind of ability to change the map around. We've seen a little bit of that. And then on the right side, generally, we have the filters. You can hide or show these, but generally when you're building, you're going to have them open. Okay. The first thing we're going to do, let's draw some boundaries. I think a couple important parts about boundaries. When I click this shape, I'm just going to be able to draw whatever boundary I like and double click to close. Okay. You'll notice when I do that, other listings disappeared. Now, I can draw a second boundary, and this will be kind of interesting. What you'll see here is as soon as I draw that boundary, it's going to start thinking again. And it's actually going to load listings in that boundary as well. Now, a couple reasons why multi-boundaries are exciting. Oh, and by the way, obviously I actually don't know if there's a limit here. I think you can just keep drawing boundaries as long as you're less than 5,000 listings at the start, you should be fine. Okay, system's thinking again as we load more data. And whereas in Denver, this might be a slightly ridiculous example. The thing I always think about is, especially if you're getting into the mountains, and I'm actually going to strip out hill shading and 3D buildings for a second. If you were in the mountains, we actually don't think it would be crazy if you drew a boundary for Vale and a boundary for Breckenridge and maybe a boundary for, I know Steamboat's right around here. There it is. And Steamboat. So if you might want to know how multiple mountain towns are all performing, right? How luxury in one mountain town is performing might impact how you think about pricing or bookings or other things. So we really wanted with this new Wheelhouse product to make multi-market data searches very easy and possible. So it's thinking quite a bit. You can see we just loaded in Vale. We've now gone above the 5,000 listings, so it's not going to allow us to do more at this time. But I think you get the picture. Okay, back to Denver. So, and back to some boundary searching. So there's other boundaries you can use as well. I'm actually going to delete my boundaries for a second here, which is going to cause the map to reload. and just a slightly different boundary box. I'm just going to draw this boundary box here. And actually, what you'll see is because the listings didn't reload, it didn't quite select the boundary box, and now it has. So I'll just draw it again to make it clear. And it's going to reload. Because there's so much data loading here, right? We have all these listings, all their historical and future looking bookings, a year in the past, a year in the future, all of their metrics, as we'll see in a second here. Just be a little patient with the map today. We'll get it bulletproof in the next little while here, but great. So to our filters. So right now we're looking at this number of listings. As we start to adjust filters, or as we adjust boundaries, this number will change. First, a nice thing to do is just to minimize the widgets, these filter widgets. So now I can see what I have here. So I can look at operators. I could look at adjusted occupancy. Right now, for every single metric we're looking at the next 90 days. We could look at the next year. And when I click that, you'll see, no surprise, the adjusted occupancy drops relatively, right? It's higher in the next 90 than it is in the next 365. And you can look back in time as well. I generally, right now I'm defaulting to next 90. I'll probably use that throughout this demo. Now, all of these filters, you're going to use different filters for different types of searches. For example, if I was just building a competitive set, I'd probably really value bedrooms, and I would value inventory type. Where do I see that? Room types, sorry. Room types. If I wanted to go compete against a particular operator, I'd probably value this filter. All to say, these filters can be moved around however you want. If you want to be looking forward to seeing how people are priced in the next 90 days, I might bring asking rate higher at the top, maybe right below operators, and I want to maybe see, I'll move operators down. I'm going to be looking at adjusted occupancy and asking rate, right? And when I click update, I'm going to adjust these filters. If I wanted to bring occupancy up below adjusted occupancy, I could do that. And now occupancy will flow up here as well. Okay. So still just learning how to use the tool. We've seen some boundaries. If you feel like editing a boundary, you can do so. You can drag and drop. You can actually even, let's see, we will be able to you can edit boundaries, you can select boundaries. Great. So we've seen the filters. Now let's go explore. We've seen the map. We've seen some of the filters. Let's go explore this a little bit more. So right now I have it set so to see a listing, to see listing data, I need to click on that listing. And when you click on it, all this information is going to be customizable. Right now we're looking at 2 bedrooms and cleaning fees. So it will tell us what the cleaning fee is. I can see asking rate, nightly revenue, occupancy, openness. I even have a calendar view, right? And if I wanted to add this listing to a set, I can easily do so. Very simple. Now, this view right here is it is customizable. And by the way, when I added that set, it went here. This will now give me a much bigger view. And everything that's in this box, everything that's in view right now, I can look and scroll through it as we speak, right? So right now I've got all these properties selected. And you can see I can filter these by a variety of different things. So I can sort by ascending or descending if you wanted to look at the best or the worst performers. And I could look at nightly revenue. I could look at asking rate. I could look at all these different attributes, right? So ascending asking rate is probably going to show me the highest priced ones. And I'm looking at the next 90 days, but I can adjust to other time periods as well. Okay. So we've got this area. We know where to look at the various listings that are in store. We've already added one to a set. Let's go apply some filters. So in this case, I want to look at the properties in the next 90 days. that have an occupancy from 60 to 90. And as of last week, we added, when you do this filter selection, we're going to save that filter up top. We'll save it every time you return to the page. I can clear it easily and go back, right? So I'll change my search slightly. And I'm going to also look at room types. I want to look at houses. It's going to filter it down. It's now active. And I also want to add I just want to look at larger properties, 4 and 5 bedrooms. Okay. So we've seen how I can click on a listing to add these to a set. I can also hover over any one of these and add it to a set. And I can also just select all, and I could review later. I could hide them if I was trying to intentionally hide properties I didn't want to look at. Those will go here to the hidden and review states. But no surprise, I want to add these properties to the set. And at this point, once you've added listings, at any point once you've added one listing, you can now save the set. So Denver, 4 and 5 bedrooms. And I'm going to save this as a competitive set, which I'm going to apply to other properties. And don't need a description. Maybe I might, in the future, we might say, I might just note the filters. Adjusted occupancy equals 50 to 90%. And the fact I had to type this out is illustrates to me. We should probably update this for you all. So we probably show this. You will see this a little bit back on the main dashboard here, but I'm going to create the set. Okay. And I'm going to skip purchasing for now. Once you've created a set, we could go straight to the View Metrics tab. We're going to see that later in the presentation today. I could also start assigning my listings, or I could go compare this performance. Actually, to do that, I really want to assign listings as well. So in this case, if I did want to start assigning listings to this set, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But I could do so, and I actually, if I had properties in Denver, I don't in this case, but I do have some in Boulder. Let's just imagine I wanted to bring those in. Oops, sorry, I'm looking for market first. Here we go, Boulder, boom, close it. It's going to load my Boulder properties, and say I wanted to compare these Denver properties to my Boulder properties, maybe just the 4-bedroom one. I would assign that listing, right? So dynamic sets have your listings and any listings you choose. They could also just have your listings if you wanted to do, some owner reporting. Things might be interesting there, but most likely you're going to be selecting other sets. You might be assigning listings depending on what you're using the set for. If you're simply using a dynamic set for acquisition, you don't need to save your own listings, right? If I'm saving listings, that usually means I'm going to be using this set for benchmarking or pricing strategy. 2 things we're going to talk about later today. Cool. So I'll close this out. I'll be back to my editing, right? So now I don't see any listings here in view. And the reason is with my filters, I've basically everything I filtered to, I've added to my set, right? So that's where all my listings move there. And we'll probably make a nicer animation in the future where they fly to that area. And we'll see, this UI could change a little bit as we go. But generally, we like the functionality. Okay. Great, so now I've got 17 listings in my set. In this case, I want to create a set that has fewer than 25 listings. Right now, if I have fewer than 25 listings in the set, I'm able to see individualized metrics for all of these properties in a much bigger fashion. I'm able to see all their pricing schedules against my assigned listings. I'm able to do more things. Once you go above 25 listings, it's just such a large set that it becomes, we're not able to show you disaggregated information. We'll eventually raise this to probably 50, but you'll see some parts in the website where more than 25 listings actually becomes a little bit unwieldy for some aspects of the ways you can use these. So we want to hear your feedback, but that's why we've made that decision so far. Okay. So I'm going to close out this side browser. We've talked about filters. There's a lot of filters here. Generally, you have everything from attributes, so bedrooms, bathrooms, sleeps. You have forward-looking metrics, so like forward and backwards. You have bookable nights. You have length of stay, so you might want to, I'll clear these for a second. We'll load more properties. Length of stay, I can I can filter by maybe I really only want to target properties that have a similar length of stay to me, or if I am 30-day plus, I might only want to do that. You just have a lot of capabilities here. Amenities, a super interesting feature we're going to explore more later. But I could now go, as an example, filter by places with a pool. And you could imagine if I combine this pool with, I'll clear this out, with, in this case, nightly revenue, where I looked at the highest performers, I can now see the highest performing places with a pool. And you can see it right in their headline there. Boom. Right here in Wheelhouse. So merchandising patterns can be discovered through these different views as well. Okay, so you're getting a good sense, and we'd love to hear if there are other filters you'd like us to add here. Relatively easy to add them. Just let us know. Cool. So we've learned a little bit about filters. We've learned about boundaries. I can save boundaries at any point. This would be downtown Denver Square. Wheelhouse, as of this week, will actually automatically save your boundary that you draw, but this will allow me to use it. If I were to click this, I'd import a boundary, and I could use this on other maps. So you can design boundaries that you can use across different dynamic sets, right? So slightly different use cases, but you can save them here. And if I had deleted this, I could just apply it at any point. Great. Get a sense for Navigator. Now, let's get a little more technical. So I am going to open up my customization. Okay, and for this, I'm actually going to open up this at the same time. And when we say sidebar, you're going to be illustrating or updating all the left sidebars. And here's the simple ways you can use it. Let's say right now this will be very visible. Let's just say I didn't need big photos. I was more interested in metrics. Shrink the photo, see the metrics, etc. Maybe you don't want the calendar view. Again, you just want to cut to cleaner metrics. You can do so, and you can strip out these type of things. Oh, that's fun. Looks like you have to have at least one in. We'll update that UI a little bit. But you can see you can only have you can even add the URL. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do here. You'll find ways to customize it. A note right now is I think you're limited to 3. Maybe you're not. I guess they're kind of hidden, so it doesn't really matter. You can scroll to them. That's cool. That's actually a nice update that you can add all these. But generally, I think kind of 3 is reasonable. And then you can do the same for metrics as well. So in this case, I'll just strip occupancy for a second. You'll see what we did there. Over on the left, I'll add it back in. Right. Drag and drop these to have them set up however you please. Cool. Now, pop-up. Right now I have this on click, right? When I click a listing, it's going to pop up. You can add on hover. I don't like this because it's just too noisy for me, but it's your preference. This is your app. So I'm going to click here. Pop-up placement, you can just see this pretty easily. I'll just do 200, 2000 off the page, right? So this is saying how far from the dot that I click do I want this thing to be. I like 50, just for me feels right. Could be absurd that we focus on this, but we really care. We want this to be perfect for you. And again, I have all the different attributes, metrics, etc. I can change all this. I could turn off Google Street View. Again, something for acquisition. We'll talk about that later. Can turn off the calendar, however you please. Okay. General, this is where you can actually increase the search limit. If you wanted to do a really big zoomed out view, I think we maxed out at 10,000 right now. Okay. Yeah. So if you go above 10,000, we'll go red. We will not load 10,000, more than 10,000 listings at a time. Again, that's something we will update in the future. Just a lot of data that goes into this. Performance is still important to us, and above 10,000 listings, it's a lot to look through. Your default metrics, so setting this will impact both this setting as well as this setting, right? So I'm always looking at the next 90 here. If I change the next 365, oh good, it clicks right over to that. It's kind of nice. This is a feature we're working on, so we'll not cover it now. the map, and again, this is just kind of like, this is interesting level of customization. So say you really wanted to get your own lay of the land, you can manipulate it. And this view, I'm actually going to switch back. We'll close this side wire for a second. And I'll go up to, just a second here. I'm going to go up to Steamboat just so we can see this for a second. You all can tell I like Steamboat. Colorado, excellent. Here we go. Let's layer in 3D buildings and hill shading. And this is, in this case, I'm going to want to grab control and rotate. And I'm going to want to go understand places near the ski cabin or near the ski hill. So I'm going to close this for a second. And the reason it can't search right now is because I need to delete old boundaries. We still have the Denver location. And good, I'm now loading in listings for this area. I'm going to search the area again just to load a little bit more. Oh, there's the resort. Ooh, cool. So now when I open up my settings again, if I go to map, there's just some different views you can look at. Some folks might want to look at a satellite view. Could be cool. I really like the outdoor view. This one's interesting for me because it gives me a good sense of amenities and things that people might be attracted to, everything from golf courses to ski hills, etc. That'll become really apparent in this view. Light mode, kind of whatever you want to play around with it. This is a little bit of Wheelhouse showing you, hopefully, hey, if there's a map layer you want, we can add it, right? We've already incorporated 9. You can see the level of fidelity here. It's kind of fun, kind of interesting. And if transportation or other mapping information helps you select properties better for competitive sets or investment, we want to know. So right now, navigator settings, sidebar, pop-up, general, which is mostly size and other things. You can enable it so I can automatically search as it moves. I don't do that either because sometimes it will slow down performance. And pop-up we talked about, etc. Great. So now we have the lay of the land, right? We've got, we know how to draw boundaries. We know how to add listings to a set. We know how to check out the ones in view. Again, here's how to add one. If I added it to hide, it would show up here. I wouldn't see it again on the map here, unless I unhit it. There's a lot I can control here, but collectively between the boundaries you can draw, the filters you can save, the fact now that all of these will just automatically save for you. So when you return the set, they'll be there. Hopefully make this a pretty nice way for you to start building your perfect competitive set, investment set, etc. Okay, we're going to close this off and go to the next section of the demo where we'll actually start taking those assigned listings and seeing what we can do with them when we look at metrics. Let's hop over there now. Okay, so we created our set. That set is now going to appear. We're moving into part 2, which is now assigning listings to a set. Okay. And by assigning listings to a set, we mean taking listings from your portfolio and figuring out who do you want to kind of benchmark against, right? So in this case, when I click this button, we'll see a couple ways to do this. If I assign listings to a set, you're going to see all the listings from your portfolio. You can filter these. If I had actually listings from Denver, I don't think I do. I don't. Let's just pretend I wanted to see listings just from this market. You can imagine it's Denver. It'll filter right down and you could select all and assign these listings to a set. Okay, obviously we'd be more precise if we're building a dynamic set with you. Now, let's see the value of assigning listings to a set. And I'm actually going to click into, this will be a pre-built filter, but it'll help me with the next couple parts here. I built this set 2 days ago, really for today. And I'm now going to click into the metrics tab here, right? So we built our dynamic set in Navigator. And now we're going to go explore metrics. I have already assigned, this is a set built for the San Juan Islands. I could click from here to go edit the set. Oops, sorry. That would take me back to the mapping view. But I've assigned 9 of my listings to a set. Okay, what I'm now going to see this hit yesterday is I'm going to see the occupancy of all the listings I've added to the set versus my listings. Right? We'll probably need to change the word here. Probably should say your listings and your comp set or whatever it may be. Okay. On this chart here, you're going to now see a chart you might be familiar with on another part of our product, but you're going to see pickup, right? So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at within both your listings in pink and all of the listings all those competitors. I'm sorry, I have it backwards. This is your set that you created, and this is your signed listings. You're seeing where bookings are occurring, right? So you can even strip out and see where bookings are occurring in your market, and hopefully get a sense of, hey, are my listings not booking, the market is, or vice versa? Am I booking faster than the market? You can change the date range to go out as far about a year and a half, I believe. This chart will show you the asking rate, right? You can aggregate the view. You've seen this before if you've used our other old comp set product, or individualize the view as well. And you have a mapping interface here. On the calendar page, you're going to get your aggregated stats, as well as right now, we'll actually bring all your assigned listings into this view soon. Right now, this just shows those listings you added to the set. And you have kind of a multitude of other places. You can look at metrics, so adjusted RevPAR, occupancy. You can look at graphs, zoom out to a year, and trends over time. Much like before, much like everything you see on Wheelhouse is exportable as an image or as a CSV, an Excel sheet, so to speak. So all of these different items, once we've created a set, you can just create a set. You don't need to assign listings. We're going to see in a second why that might be valuable in other ways. But this metrics view is designed to be a really deep dive to help understand the performance. I think maybe the most interesting question we can answer is, again, are my listings booking in the market it's not, or vice versa? That's going to be a data piece that you can adjust a strategy around or communicate to an owner. Okay. So we saw how to kind of create a set, although we'll have to do a proper demo at some point. We saw how to assign listings to a set. I could also assign listings from here. So once I'm in the set, I'm going to have the same interface where I can add more listings to a set. I can see who I've already assigned, etc. We owe better Help Center content on that. All right. Now, let's get a little more fun. When I assign a listing to a set, there's some other benefits that emerge. I'm now going to click into an individual listing. Okay, this is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom hypothetical property in the San Juan Islands of Washington, my old home. I have a sweet spot for it, no doubt. And what we're seeing here, as you all probably know, is we're seeing the pricing recommendations for the next 18 months. And you might have used the in-context view before, where I'm able to bring in a dynamic set. Okay, before a listing had a set. Now that listing could be assigned. You could assign this listing to multiple sets. And if you did that, you can change which set you're viewing or view first here. So if I change this view, I realistically wouldn't have the South England coast as a comp set here. It'll change the rendering in a second. Oops, 1 second here. Of course, I'm just throwing all sorts of fun kinks at our system today. So I'll go back to my set aggregate. It's going to load the chart here. And this is why when you load, you can create a huge market, what we call a market set on Wheelhouse with 1,000 listings. It's the reason, like with 25 listings or fewer, we'll actually show you, we can show you some better views here. So I could take and break out all the individual pricing. I can see the individual listings here. This view is going to become too much if you have a lot of listings here, but this set aggregate view should still be valuable. But question for you, let's say you were talking to an owner and this blue line reflected your current pricing strategy. This property was not getting enough bookings, but you were able to show that you were priced against your competitors here. What kind of communication could you have with that owner? Henry, I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you message?
Can you say the situation again? Sorry.
Sure. Here's your pricing. You're the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see your price below your competitors. What would you take from this?
I would go and look at occupancy and look at occupancy trends year over year, see if we're pacing lower. I'd also include that this is compared to scrape data, so it's going to be somewhat a little inflated given fees and everything. And then also just year over year trends, depending on the home. Looking at this one, we probably want to fill up a little bit more. Looks like they're lagging a little bit behind, so we do want to get traffic to help with algorithms, everything along those lines.
It's a great comms. Okay. Henry's a professional revenue manager. That was really good. And you can also, as you all know here, you can also, again, export all this as an image. So if you wanted to communicate a strategy to an owner, a teammate, etc., if you click export, you're going to get a downloaded of an image that you can send to anyone. Text is your data. So within this view, this is kind of the pricing in context. We do want to make it really easy to bring in your competitors, see their pricing strategy against yours. And Henry, you named a really interesting aspect as well, which is, okay, occupancy is a really important consideration here. If you're outperforming the market in terms of occupancy, your response is going to be different. If you're not driving occupancy and the market's not driving occupancy, what you probably would reflect to the owner here is like, hey, we actually are priced below, we're priced to sell, and the market's not selling. Okay. Now, this is kind of, so we've talked about bringing your dynamic set into pricing. Now we're going to talk about bringing your dynamic set into your portfolio performance page. So this is a page that for certainly everyone who's gone through onboarding with Wheelhouse has seen this page before. Just in case, because some of you might be newer to Teams, what I'm looking at here now, I've loaded my portfolio performance. I'm looking at my revenue pacing or pickup, basically my pickup on a monthly, weekly. I could zoom into a daily basis. I have my pacing chart down below here. And as you might know, I'm able to strip out the totals just to see really what's selling right now. And I can filter this data by whatever I please, tags, bedrooms, markets, etc. What you can now do is you can also bring in a dynamic set. So in this case, I've mentioned I built that San Juan market. What I want to do is I want to bring in San Juan, that set I just created, and I want to see my performance. Right now I'm looking at revenue, but I could also, Henry, to your point, look at my occupancy. Another data point I might use to communicate a strategy to a teammate, to an owner, or make an adjustment myself, right? I can zoom in very close on all this information as well. Now, what you're probably correctly thinking, well, this is 89 listings versus 23. If you do want to just see, well, what's the average per listing? Let's see if we can toggle this on. Oh my goodness, is that bug number 3? That would just be too much for me. Well, we'll look at that. Let's do a refresh.
I don't know if we do that calculation on the sets comparison.
We did this morning.
We did? Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty nice. I can bring in, maybe it's just at the monthly level. Let's just check that. It should be on course on the daily level or weekly level. I just want to see. So right now we'll do it, but apparently only on the monthly level. Huh. Okay, so we got to give that to you on the weekly level. So this will now adjust so you can see, regardless of if you have different size sets or your portfolio is much different than a dynamic set, this will give you clarity on what you're seeing here. You can also compare two different types of sets. So right now we're looking at your portfolio, all of your portfolio. You could bring in a second group here, and now you're going to be comparing two of your sets. So you can compare two of your segments, a newer bit of functionality. And right now we do have that on average. So now we've seen a little bit of set creation, set assignment, bringing a dynamic set to the listing level and bringing it into our chart, and the performance page. Those are some of the main ways you can use dynamic sets today. Okay, we wanted to build a multi-market, more data-rich product you can bring into every aspect of your pricing strategy. Now, we're going to try something really fast here. We're going to go back to sets, and I'm going to do a slightly different experiment. And we did build a comp set with the goal of using that competitive set for benchmarking and pricing strategy. Okay. Now I want to do something a little bit different. I've loaded San Francisco. We will not default to San Francisco starting next week. We do today. That's our home base. So we will default to a different way. If you ever wanted to just circle right on your computer, you can push this icon. If you're giving your browser permission to know where you are, this is true. I'm broadcasting from my home right here on Fulton and Lyon. But what I want to do is I want to look at this operator filter. And when we think of this tool as a potential for owner acquisition, one of the things that we will make easier for you all, but right now I do need to click each individual dot. We want to make it possible for you to go find the people who have one or two listings in your market. Maybe listed on Airbnb, Vrbo, or Booking.com. Okay. When I apply this filter, I'm now looking at all of these listings that are managed by a non-professional. When we shared earlier that you can customize this view so that you can actually bring Google Street Maps, you can actually bring Google Street Maps and it will drop you. We don't always have precise data, but we think between the images that you're able to find, and you all know your markets well, you might be able to get a letter to their door. And in the future, we will partner with either Venturi, SendSquared, or others. But we do imagine that this product can serve you for owner communications and explaining a strategy or owner retention. We think it can serve for your pricing strategy. We sure hope it helps you expand your portfolio. And the other item you can do, kind of fun, but there will be more. And we're super eager to hear as you start to look at mapping and performance data. In this case, I'm going to go zoom up to the Napa region north of San Francisco. And we're going to load properties. I've got this filter here. Let me remove the filter. I'm going to collapse this side panel, and I'm going to go back to the amenities. Because now that our data is actually loading here, we can do something kind of fun. In this case, I'm going to choose pools. Right? I'm now seeing all the places with pools in my view here. Next, I want to go look at the average nightly revenue. And what I want to see here, I want to pull in the top performers. And I've now isolated those folks who are doing the best in the next 90 days. And something I can now do, especially because I have a link to the OTA, I can go figure out maybe something that these operators are doing, Ken and Joe are doing, to display their property in a way that's selling really well right now. Often what we'll see when we filter by a pool is that in the first couple images, you will see that pool. Let's see, this one does not have that. That's fun. All right, let's go check another. So we do imagine that this tool can be used. Sometimes you'll see, like in this one, we'll actually see it. It's going to be the first photo. So you can see how people are merchandising their properties. And sometimes I like to think about you all. Part of the business, yes, is making sure guests get in the door when they arrive. And part of it is finding out how with 24 or 30 photos, you can sell your home to prospective guests. People might be shopping, especially right now in summertime for a pool, into winter in your market. The first photo you might want to show is that hot tub or the fireplace, right? Some merchandising strategies. So we do think you can use this to go study and learn across many markets, right? We want to give you access to whatever's selling anywhere. Plenty of ski towns are testing different merchandising strategies. If they're coming online into their booking window a month early, you might want to see what's selling right now. So I know I just threw a lot at you, and it hurts when the demo data doesn't load. The last thing I'll share, and then I would just love, of course, any thoughts, questions, tough questions from you all. What's coming next? A lot more and better data, obviously faster loading time. Right now, Wheelhouse, we do have 3 data providers that we use. We have Booking.com data that's now coming in here. We're loading about 20 million listings in this. So more and better data, we'll continue to add that. Today we saw what we call static sets. So I grabbed 20 listings and I added them to a set. What you'll be able to do next is say, just grab the top, just show me the most occupied 2 bedrooms, and Wheelhouse will actually update that variable set every single day. So you can just create the competitive set that you want to be listening to, and we'll update it in real time. So if a property goes offline for the next 90 days, maybe you shouldn't be considering it anymore in your pricing strategy. We are really excited about what I call right now, set powered pricing. That is the ability right now. You might know that you can tell us how much to listen to demand near you or your historical data. We really think that that set you bring in, you should be able to tell us how much you want to listen to that pricing strategy as well. We want to put you in control.
Andrew, there was a question.
Yeah.
Can you go to the sets navigator page just so I
Yes.
can answer it visually?
Yes.
And then go here.
Mhm.
So this was Rebecca's question, is if we can see the cleaning fee. And you just click over here. If we go up here, there, the settings. And let's just X out baths for now. And then cleaning fee, that was the one. So you can add that attribute, and then
Yes.
this will appear in the system. It is also, there's another place where you can make it appear on the pop-up too.
Yeah, so it'll include it here. Oh yes, if we wanted to include that on the pop-up, you can change your pop-up here, and we're actually going to we'll change the data, and we'll add that cleaning fee, and it'll pop up right there. Could probably be brighter or better formatted.
Does that pull into after I've built a set? Because essentially what I'm trying to do is a question we get all the time is like, what's the cleaning fee average in this area for 1 bedroom? There's not a technology out there right now that you can scrape that information.
Let's check.
Yeah, go ahead,
That
Jay.
works properly.
I'm not sure if it is in the metrics part on like the graphs where, so if you click on metrics, Andrew, on a set that you have saved, I can think of where we would put it, but I don't know if it's currently there. But since we have the data, we might be able to just do that.
Yeah, that's a great call. It's a great ad. We don't have, I don't believe we have it here. I don't believe it would maybe work well in the overview, but that's a great call. It's a great call.
Can you go back just to that metrics page?
Yes.
And then click here for me.
Oh, brilliant.
It is there. So then this is exportable. So if now keep in mind, this individualized data won't show unless you have 25 or less. So you have to keep the set down to 25 or less to export this. It will otherwise show an aggregate version.
Yes. And that is maybe one thing we definitely heard is that folks want that individualized view at sets that are larger than 25. We will up that at some point. There is a huge amount of data. There's a lot of data we're trying to load across a lot of the sites. So if we can get this to load very effectively for you, we'll adjust that. And there are some views where it becomes too much, but that is right. You'll have disaggregated data, so individualized data under 25 listings. You can build a 2000 listing set if you want, but then you'll just have the aggregated view of data. Okay. Oh, holy smokes, you were patient today with something that certainly could have gone more smoothly. I want to see what other questions do folks have, or things you would like to see